Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 4 of Direwolf20's Space Engineers series. I'm just hooking up my arc furnace here to my conveyor network that we worked on last episode, partially as just reminders to what we did last episode. So, what did we do last episode? Oh, that's right, we made stuff, and it was a lot of fun. Let's see, small steel tubes in progress. Cool. So that's what I need at this moment. So what am I working on today? Well, we'll see pretty soon. So first off, I want to get my arc furnace hooked up here. The main reason being that I want it to be able to automatically process ores that show up. And we'll notice a couple things that I'm going to show you guys here. In fact, I want to steal this iron, or at least some of it. Yeah, it should be fine. I'll put it somewhere, but for now we'll leave it. I want to be able to show you guys how we can prioritize certain things in the network. So let's see, I just need a few more small steel tubes here and then I'll be good. I also probably need a few more motors. Good to know. So motors and small steel tubes. This will at least mostly get us going. Alright, we should be cool now. Unless that was all of it. You know, let me get about 100 more of these guys. They're not too expensive. Now the arc furnace, once we connect this, all the ingots that have been processed thus far will wind up in our chest over there that we have ingots in, or the cargo container. Cool. Green light's on, means everything's connected and talking, and we should see our ingots quickly getting transferred over there. Awesome. Perfect. So one thing we'll probably want to do is prioritize where things go. So let's, for example, take some iron ore. Alright, if we look and we drop this iron ore, for example, in here, it should automatically get pulled by either the arc furnace or the refinery. So where did it go? If we check the refinery, we'll see it's not in there. The arc furnace, it did default over to that place, but it might not always do that. I actually don't know what the algorithm is to figure out where it's supposed to go, but if we wanted to, we could use that sorting mod that we know is capable of doing things, right? So let's rename this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the conveyor system. By turning off the conveyor system, you tell the refinery and arc furnace not to follow their own rules of refinery pulling things in, right? So we're going to turn the conveyor system off on both of these. And instead, I'm going to name this guy. So we're going to name refinery 1, and we'll say ore P5. And that means that it has priority number 5. And over here, so did you actually just spin up? You might have. Yeah, you did. You snagged some iron and nickel. Look at that. Cool. Now if I come over here, I can tell this guy that he's an arc furnace 1. And we'll say, I believe it's ore/iron. Let me double check that. Yes, ore/iron, and we'll do P1. Cool. So now you'll notice that he just stole the ore straight out of the refinery. Cool. So this means that the arc furnace will always be the first destination for iron ore because it's priority number 1, and the refinery will be the 5th destination. It's priority number 5. Cool. So we can have all our arc furnaces as we make more be higher. Now, if I want to, I can put a comma here and do ore/nickel P1. And if we check the inventory now, we'll see the nickel came across. Very cool. So now we can be certain that nickel and iron will always be the ones to manage their way over here, right? And even if we had iron in here, it'll go ahead and pull it out eventually, in theory, and just bring it over to the arc furnace. Very cool, right? I think cobalt is the other one that goes into an arc furnace. Let me double check that too. Yes, cobalt is the other one that can go in here. So just so that we're ready for it, I'm going to do a comma or cobalt P1. So now we'll see that the full name is arc furnace 1 ore/iron priority 1 ore/nickel priority 1 and ore/cobalt priority 1. Cool, right? So that means as we get nickel, iron, and cobalt, first place they're going to go is the arc furnace. And any extra will go into the refinery if that arc furnace happens to fill up. All the other ores are going to go here. Pretty cool, because his name is Refinery 1 or P5. So all ores will land in that refinery second. Very cool. As we go further in the series, I'll probably no longer do that because arc furnaces quickly get antiquated and we no longer really need them. So we're probably going to get rid of them pretty soon. I'm also going to turn off my GPS coordinate for Dyer's base because I don't need that showing there. One nifty trick you can do, just show on HUD whether or not it shows in the world there. So that's another tip for today. Cool. So what did I want to work on today? Well, I've got this inventory that's full of iron. And carrying this from one location to another, so I can store about 2.8k, right? This is a really small amount of iron, and it's still going to take me almost 10 trips to empty it out of that cargo container there. So let's build something that we can automate this with. So let's get started. I'm going to refine a couple products. Let's go to the production tab. We're going to want a large block here, and let me find the connector. We're probably going to want 2 of these bad boys. So I'm going to get all the stuff I need for a connector. Pretty soon, though, well, not probably too soon, but soon enough. Let's see, that's a spotlight. There we go. I'm going to get 2 sets of connector components. Nice. So that's going to start producing what it needs to produce, and we'll come back in a minute when it's done. All right, we don't have quite all the resources ready, but I did want to just throw this connector on the back of the ship. Those of you with a keen eye might have noticed that I recessed my thrusters here just a little bit further into the ship. That should be good. So let's just weld this guy into place. Obviously, I'm going to need a few more construction components. Not a problem. That'll do. So connectors are really cool blocks. What you can do with them is connect 2 inventory systems together temporarily. And that's what we're going to set up right now. So all I'm going to do is pop a connector down here. Actually, I like it to be... I'm going to rotate this guy so that he's more like that oriented. Does that look cool? Let's weld this guy into place. We're going to need a few more construction components. There we go. Now, once we weld this connector into place, we should be able to put these 2 connectors together. So this will allow us to link our ship with our station. And what will happen is all the rules of sorting will apply, which is very cool. So let's go jump into our ship and try and dock this bad boy. Dun, 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 dun. Coming in for a landing. So what I'm going to do is come over here. This actually will share, I think, as well as inventories. It'll also share power as well as a few other things, so keep that in mind. Sometimes lining up from this angle is difficult. So again, third person, definitely helpful. But if you rotate your angle, you will quickly figure out what you're doing wrong, and then you'll be able to adjust what's up. So as you come close to a landing, the 2 magnetic connector components are going to get close to locking up, right? And you'll know that they're ready to lock when they turn yellow. So you might have noticed that happen, right? Real quick, it turned yellow. So again, as I'm pulling away from here, let's see, let me out. Sometimes they're a little tough to even get away from, but that's a temporary problem that we won't have to deal with. So white, not ready. Yellow means it's ready to link. And I think I want to align more this way. Yeah. So different angles that you see what's going on wrong with your connection. When it's ready, you need to tell your connector to lock. You can either do this from the control panel screen right here, and either side can initiate the lock, so either here or the station can do it, or you can add it as a G menu option. So I'll just drag connector. I'm going to do toggle or switch lock. So that will, if I set lock, every time I hit the button, it would force a lock. It wouldn't allow me to unlock. So we'll do this. So if we watch our inventory here, we should see that our medium cargo container has 19k ore in it, right? And if we check our reactor or refineries and such, we'll see that this guy is probably done processing. Well, he's still got a little bit of nickel left, but he's only got about 2.45k iron. So let's do the locking connection and go. You'll notice now that very quickly the cargo container in the ship is empty. And if we check the reactor over here, the arc furnace thing, ta-da, 21.5k iron. So all the automations that we've set in place are functional. The ship can now dock with the station, dump out all its ores automatically. They'll get sucked into, if they're iron, cobalt, or nickel, arc furnace first. If there's something else, or if that arc furnace happens to be full, the refinery will be your secondary destination. Very cool, right? I think that's neat. I'm very pleased. So let's go mining a little bit, shall we? All I have to do is unlock, and wiggling a little bit will definitely get you free. By the way, a nice way to reset your viewpoint there is just go back into first person and third person, and any looking around that you've done gets reset. So that's a neat little trick for you. So I am going to go up here. By the way, you'll also notice that I've dragged from my weapons and tools my drill down to slot 9. There's a good reason for that. When you've done that and you activate your drill, it allows you to hold your left mouse button to mine. But even more importantly, notice that I'm only mining just a little bit right here. If I hold right mouse button, check this out. Let's see how much, 36 stone at the moment. Right mouse button is a much larger radius, but you'll notice that I didn't pick up any stone. So it's like a destruction mode. It mines a larger area, but you don't collect the resources. So right mouse button to do that. It's a quicker, more destructive way of mining. It's very cool. Nice. So this ship is very bulky and hard to fly, and I don't like anything about it for the most part, but that's okay. We will manage. Most of the problem is the overloading of the reactors. They are still not able to keep up with the very few amount of thrusters I have on here, but they're small reactors. What do you expect? I'm going to do a little bit of mining. I'll come back in a moment once I've gotten a few resources. So one thing you guys might notice, as your cargo hold fills up and your drills fill up with ore, your ship becomes very cumbersome to fly around. This can be overcome with more thrusters, but just keep in mind, like, look how much longer it's taking to slow down, look how much longer it's taking to speed up. It's very bulky because it's full of heavy ores. Now, those of you who like to say things like, hey, it's outer space, shouldn't everything be weightless? Well, yes, it is technically weightless, but mass still exists. So it does require more thrust to push more mass. This is just science, right? And part of this game is engineering, so we're gonna have to come up with some solutions to that. Both, we've got a couple solutions in mind that we've got available. Hey, there we go, cool. So you can see I got a bunch of ores in my drills because my cargo container filled up. So your cargo container will fill first because the drills push out. Also, your connector fills up too, but then the drills start to fill up, and that's usually a good indication it's time to go home. So let's lock in, and we should see everything kind of clearing out. Nice. So everything emptied itself. That's cool. Medium cargo container. Still has a little bit of ice in it left. The reason being is that we haven't told our system what to do with ice. Ice doesn't get refined inside of a refinery. Ice only does something inside this guy, and since he's not part of the connected network yet, we still have to move ice manually. But everything else was automatic, so we saw that all of our nickel and iron went here, and everything else should be hanging out in the refinery. Nice. That's what I like to see. And it's processing, and then of course all the processed ore is landing in here in ingot form. So we should see some stuff showing up pretty quickly. There we go, gravel just went up. I think, you know, a couple other things should be showing up. So things are working beautifully. All right, let's get ready to build something else. So one thing I'd like to have a bunch of on hand is steel plates. So let's make like 300 of those, right? It's gonna require, I'm gonna do up to 500. That's gonna require 10,000 iron ingots. Sounds like a lot, but we should be able to handle it, especially with all the iron we just pulled in, which is currently residing in our furnace. We've got 32,000 ore. Not sure how much that translates into. There is a bit of productivity and effectiveness and power efficiency. Productivity and effectiveness. I always mix these two up, but one of them is basically for the refineries or for the furnaces, how much ore you get out of the rock that you mine, so you don't always get a 1-to-1 ratio, and improving that will give you more. And then the other one is speed, so you're just going to get more speed out of it, so that's kind of cool. Nice. So yeah, we're doing fine. Let's speed up our assembler though. So if we want to speed this up, we have a couple options. First of all, I think we should take a look at productivity modules. So let's make one of those. Productivity module. So this is the basic one. Pretty straightforward. And you want to align this thing, so you need to rotate it around. There we go. To the point where it has connector points. So if I rotate this like so, you'll see those connector points. You want it connected to the 2 connector points on the assembler. And then once it's made, it's pretty much ready to go. So I need some construction components, some small and large steel tubes. So construction components, small and large steel tubes. Ta-da! And it turns green to tell you that everything's working. Nice. So what we should see now is production going faster. Awesome. And if we take a look in the control panel for the assembler, we'll see that the required energy has gone up. So productivity is 200%, so it's much faster now. But power is at 1.12 megawatts, where without this thing installed, we can see power is at 560 kilowatts. So it requires more energy, but it runs faster. Very cool. And if we check over here on our reactors control panel, we'll see that it's capable of producing 15 megawatts. Current output is 1.89 in total. That's handling all the work that everything's doing, right? So, very cool. That is the productivity module, and I'm debating if I want to upgrade the arc furnace or not. I mean, this thing's doing a pretty good job here. I might want to speed this guy up too, but I think I don't really have the resources just yet. You know what I think I'm going to do is finish a little bit of welding off camera, because I've got this ugly unwelded stuff to handle. So let's come back when that's done. So you know, it occurs to me another thing we might want to do, just for the sake of speeding up production, is maybe add another assembler here. One thing you'll note with assemblers is if they're standing upright like mine is right now, and if we take a look on the bottom side, you'll see that there's one of those door hatches. So what that means is if we put two assemblers on top of each other, like so, they should be able to share inventories and they'll both be part of the same network. As a result, they'll be able to talk to each other, which is cool. So I'm going to need 4 displays and a few more components here. Construction components. How am I for displays? Awesome, I have enough. Beautiful. So I can weld this guy together. Assembler is obviously a little bit more complicated to weld. But the reason I'm building a second assembler is because I want to double the speed at which I produce stuff. Okay, the assembler is up and running. Nice. So let's see if I remember how to do this. I'm going to configure this assembler's control panel. We'll leave him named Assembler 2. But if I go to the production tab for the station, we'll see we have 2 assemblers now, Assembler 1 and Assembler 2. I'm going to control Assembler 2, and I'm going to put him in cooperative mode. And if I do that, we should see that all of a sudden, he starts producing stuff. Nice. So cooperative mode is a setting that you can enable and enable from the terminal here. Basically, the way it works is you want one assembler not in cooperative mode, and he's kind of considered the master assembler. And then any assemblers who are in cooperative mode will take a couple things that they need to do out of that tab and start working on them. So we'll see that this guy's working on about 5 at a time here, right? So he goes ahead and he gets a few construction components 5 at a time, and he'll just keep running. He will assist the main assembler until the main assembler's production queue is empty. Nice. And then I can get myself another one of these dudes, which is a productivity module. And if I install this guy right here, sometimes I'm bad about rotating my blocks, but there we go. And then, nice. So we're gonna need a few more steel plates, large steel tubes. That's all I should need. So 10 of those. We will production here, we'll say. You can see how quickly I burn through those steel plates though, huh? Nice, right? You definitely use a lot of steel plates. There we go. A few more. They should be done processing by now. Awesome. Few more. That should do it. At least get me up and running. Beautiful. So now this guy's running at higher efficiency, which means that both of our production queues are going a little bit faster. Very cool, right? Now if I really want to go crazy, and I do, I'm going to throw another set on this side. There we are. So that's going to need a few more components there. Construction components, large steel tubes, and motors. Cool. How am I for motors? I could probably use a few more of those as well. Let me produce some resources and we'll be back. Alright, let's see how well this works now. I drop this guy on. This thing should be running even faster. Oh yeah, look at that. And if we check our control panel, 300% productivity. That's cool. and then even faster. So these are like upgrade modules. They're very cool, very handy. It might not be a bad idea to throw some power upgrade modules on there as well, just because at some point you're going to start running into power issues if you keep throwing this many on here. But we'll be all right. I'm not too worried about it. So just a few small steel tubes, 3 of them to be exact. Put all this stuff back. We'll do 100 or 2, and then a couple hundred more iron. And let's see how I am doing for iron ingots at the moment. 17k? I'm doing okay. Sweet. So if we check here, we'll see that this guy is 300% efficient as well. So he's going to process and produce stuff a lot faster than it was before. So now when I request things, we've got 2 assemblers running at pretty good efficiency, aka nice and fast. Very cool. Actually, guys, I'm going to rotate this thing real quick, and you'll see why in a moment. So the reason I did that is so that the 2 upgrade modules will align with each other. On the back here, I'm going to sneak in a power efficiency module. So we'll note that these guys are each requiring quite a bit of power to run now, and that's going to really burn through my power reserves. So right now they require 1.68 megawatts of power. So let's just throw in again. This is all vanilla stuff that we've done so far. There are upgraded versions of these modules in one of the mods that I have in the pack, but for now I just want you to see how all the vanilla stuff works. So let's get ourselves just a bunch of steel plates and probably some construction components. And we'll probably need small steel tubes as well, motors and computers, I would wager. And just 10 large steel tubes, and then we'll be good. And thus ends the upgrades that I'm going to put on here for now. You'll notice that there are 2 more upgrade modules in the front, but I really don't want to put that there because I think it'll look kind of funky. But if we check our control panel now, we'll see that we've definitely took a decrease in the amount of energy required to run this thing. So that's kind of a good balance. So upgrade modules on things like assemblers and refineries are all about being efficient with them. You can have a ton of speed for a ton of power cost, or you can reduce the power cost and be slower. There's a bunch of different balance points you can do with that, right? This guy has 8 upgrade slots on the back, so I could speed him up a little bit, but I'm going to hold off on the upgrade slots for now on this thing, though he is currently running. And what are you working on? Silicon? A bunch of silicon that I mined, and you've got a little bit of gold that I picked up out there in the wastes. Cool. All right, back in a moment. Alright guys, just came back from a quick mining run. Focused a little bit on uranium this time. I wanted to make sure I had plenty of fuel available for the upcoming work that we're going to be doing around the base, and also ran out of oxygen while I was out there. Sweet. So a refinery should be working on uranium right now. So let's talk about refineries' efficiencies, right? So if we wanted to look at the numbers, and you can look this up on the wiki, uranium is like, whoa, in terms of low efficiency. I'm actually going to tell you right now. Stone is a 90% conversion, so 90% of the stone you get gets turned into gravel. Iron is 70%, silicon is 70%, and then it goes down pretty quickly from there. Nickel's 40, cobalt's 30, silver's 10, gold is 1, uranium is 0.7, which means if we had 1,000 kilograms of iron, we'll get like, I don't know, 7 kilograms of uranium. Yeah, that's what I meant. 1,000 kilograms of uranium will give you 7 kilograms of uranium ingots. It's bad. So let's actually turn this system off for a moment. I'm going to toggle the refinery off, and we'll notice that it stops running because it's off. I want to throw some upgrade modules on here. All right, let's put these guys on. If we take a quick look before we proceed with this process, we'll note that energy use 560 kilowatts. So I'm going to bump up this effectiveness module in here, and energy use, if I'm correct, 560 kilowatts, same amount. So effectiveness modules on the refinery basically mean you're going to get more ore out of your system. Let me also produce a little bit more steel. So basically, like I said, you'll be getting more ingots per ore that you refine, which is a good thing. It's not a huge bonus though. Roughly, if you put all 8 connection points on here, so I've got 4 of them filled, if I had all 8 filled, it would give me about double. but you'll never get more than you could have gotten from 100. You'll never get more than 100% efficiency. So for the ingots like iron and silicon that you have a 70% rate of, you're not going to get more. So it's a little bit wasted to put more than those. But everything else, you'll get almost double. So I'm going to do about half. I'm going to do half of these guys will be effectiveness, and then the other half will be productivity modules. Cool? So that will increase the speed at which it's allowed to refine ores. And that'll be nice for me. Alright, so that has these guys completed. Now we'll note that we're going to use a little bit more power, obviously. But that's fine, 1.68 megawatts. But our effectiveness is higher. So I'm going to turn this guy back on. If we check in our inventory now, it'll refine faster, and we'll get more uranium ingots out of our uranium ore, because we've got those nifty modules up here, the effectiveness ones. Very cool. Alright, let's see what else I might want to work on now before we wrap up this episode. Alright guys, we're back, and I'm just putting some uranium in my third reactor on the ship. Hopefully that means that we've got enough juice to fly around now without running out of power. Overload's not looking too bad. Nice. So we can definitely see we're getting a good amount of speed boost here. Might want to throw a couple more thrusters on this bad boy. This is really more of a temporary mining ship, so I don't want to spend too much time on it because I want to build a better, more efficient mining ship. But yeah, that third reactor is definitely helping out. That's cool. One more thing I'd like to try and make, if I may. Let's see. Do I have space on my ship for it somewhere? That's a good spot. Let's see. Alright guys, I ground down and moved my cockpit here just forward one block because I wanted to sneak in a very cool block right here. I think that's the right... Actually, let me replace this dude. I want to make sure that he is oriented correctly. It's actually very important what direction you place this block. This is the remote control block, and it does some cool stuff. I can't wait to show you. I'm going to demonstrate this out in space, and then we're probably going to come back next episode and do something very cool with it. So let's do this. There's actually probably one. Well, let's see. If I were to just be out in space, like right here, and I went and created a new GPS coordinate from current position, we'll leave it named Direwolf 1. Notice how it's creating that inside the cockpit there, right? Now let's remove Direwolf 1. And I'm going to create one more item here. There's a block called the antenna. I want to install this guy on my ship. So that's going to require a small steel tube composer, construction component, and then radio communication equipment. Don't think I have any of those, so let's produce them if I can. Radio comms. 4 of them in total should be good. Small steel tube, construction component. Let's make a few more of those because it looks like we're getting a little bit low. And I should be able to weld up my antenna. Now the remote control and the antenna allow for 2 very cool purposes. Let me show you what that is. With an antenna attached to a ship, I can open up my inventory and change my drop down in the top left here. In order to make sure you do this, you have to make sure broadcasting is on. So when you hit O on your keyboard, it shows broadcasting on and off, and it's on your bottom left as well, the very last object on the bottom left, whether or not broadcasting is on. If that is on, your internal antenna in your suit is on, and you have access to play with your ship. Cool. I'm actually going to call this ship something. We will go into the Invoke tab, and we will call him Dire Miner 1. Ship names are starting to become important. Cool. So Dire Miner 1 is now an option for controlling. Cool. And I have access to my ship. If I go to the remote control block here and click control, I can control my ship just like I'm controlling my character, but my character doesn't move now. My ship is. Oh, this is neat. The other thing I can do while controlling my ship is create a new from current position waypoint. And you'll notice that when it does that, it creates the waypoint on the remote control block. Now this is important. Why? Well, check it out. If I fly Dire Miner 1, and I'm just going to remote control him and just kind of fly off into the distance. Goodbye, everybody. And we'll even like fly all over the place, and you can't even see where Dire's going right now. By the way, press T to regain control of your character and remove control of the remote control block. if I go back to Dire Miner 1 and we go to the remote control block, okay, one other thing that you can do is automatically fly to waypoints. So what I'm going to do is put this guy in flight mode one way. And the waypoint I want him to go to is Direwolf 1. We're going to add that GPS location that we've already stored to the waypoint for this guy. And I'm going to turn on autopilot. Ta-da! Good job, Dire Miner 1. You flew right back into position. How cool is that? I like it. Nice. And he's going to align himself and try and get right into position the way he should be. I am liking it. How cool is that, huh? So the autopilot is something that we're going to play with a little bit, I think, next episode. Now I can go back to Dire Miner 1 here. Remote control. Let's see, are you done derping around? Probably not. So I'm going to turn off autopilot. Cool. He has a couple other options. Collision avoidance, whether or not you want him to just fly in a straight line or try to avoid things, as well as precision mode. So precision mode is pretty important. So let's maybe take a look at that real quick. So I'm going to put him in control mode again. I'm going to just fly off. Basically what that means is he's going to do his best to line up exactly onto that waypoint. So let's go to Dire Miner 1, remote control, and autopilot on. Cool. He's going to try really hard to line up exactly on that waypoint. So there's going to be something pretty cool that we're going to do next episode. Maybe you guys can come up with what it's going to be. But if you can't, you're going to have to wait till then. Because for now, it is wrapping up point for this episode. So we'll come back next time, and we will have a little bit of fun with waypoints, remote controls, and autopilots. See how perfectly he lined up his remote control with that waypoint? And then notice he turns green. That's because he's done. So when we're in Dire Miner now, if we go to the remote control, we'll see that the autopilot automatically turns himself off when he's completed his waypoints. So this guy could patrol in a circle, go in a circle, or patrol the different waypoints. You can also control whether he goes forward or backwards. A couple different things you can do. And we'll also take a look at setting up some actions after that waypoints are complete. So very cool things planned for next episode, a little bit of automation. For now, Direwolf 20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll be back next time to do a little bit more automation with autopilots in our ship. Take it easy, guys.